in our business, at the end, you have the brand sound. So for me, audio branding is the process of development and developing and also maintaining a brand sound.
And that is like super important to also keep an eye on the implementation, because this is often forgotten. So we have our wonderful process, everything runs smoothly, and in the end we have the best sound logo of the world, but unfortunately it's not on the streets. Nobody hears it. Why? Yeah. Because it's not properly implemented.
Welcome to Audio Branding, the hidden gem of marketing. I'm your host, Jody Krangle, and this podcast will discuss just how sound influences our behavior. I generally talk about this in the context of advertising and marketing, but there are other places this is important too. I really feel that it plays a much more important role in our lives than maybe we realize. So let's delve a little deeper. This is the first part of my interview with Dr. Cornelius Ringe and Lars Ohlendorf. My next guests, yes, plural, are Dr. Cornelius Ringe and Lars Ohlendorf, partners at the Hamburg, Berlin-based sound agency WESOUND. Cornelius studied business administration with a major in advertising psychology and gained his PhD at the Institute for Music and Media Science at the Humboldt University in Berlin. Lars has a master's degree in audio engineering and is a sound designer and composer with 20 years' experience. As WESOUND's creative director, Lars is responsible for developing sound concepts and music strategies, along with supervising the production team. Since 2005, Cornelius has been working for international brands as a brand sound consultant. In 2009, he founded the Audio Branding Academy, which presents the International Sound Awards annually. Since 2013, he has been responsible for business development at WESOUND and was appointed managing partner in 2017. He is the author and editor of several trade publications and teaches at the Humboldt University Berlin, the University of Popular Music, and Music Business Mannheim. This was an outstanding conversation, and I have no doubt that you are going to enjoy it as much as I enjoyed having it. Well, first of all, thank you so much for talking with me today, guys, because I know you are both probably really busy.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us.
I've been looking forward to this a lot, actually, but yeah.
And it's a pleasure to talk to you, you know?
Yes,
it's really,
thank you.
Yes, it's an honor because we really love your podcast. It's a great project. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So how are you guys doing? Where are you in Berlin right now?
Actually, Hamburg.
You're in Hamburg. Okay.
Hamburg,
I wasn't sure
yes.
which. Okay.
Yeah. But it's, close. Yeah.
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 And WESOUND has two offices, one in Berlin and one in Hamburg. So
yes, that's why I asked you about Berlin. Yeah. So how is Hamburg right now?
Yeah, well, Corona, stroke here too. So it's not so good, but still. Yeah,
I would say we are still on the lucky side if you compare it to other countries at the moment.
Yeah,
so it's strange, but well, I think at least we are. We had some a tough year this year, definitely, as many of us, but we see especially many artists and musicians who really suffer, and that's a big problem.
Oh, yeah.
So as we are not playing music live on stage, we can deal with the situation. And it seems like our clients really found out that audio or sound is a nice topic for projects you can do on home office.
Yes. Yeah. Which we're going to talk a lot more about.
Absolutely, yes. It's kind of
what a coincidence.
Yeah. Hey.
A proof of concept, yes.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad to hear that you guys are doing well over there comparatively. That's fantastic. I know here in Ontario, we're going through our second wave. So unfortunately, things are getting a little a little more.
Yeah.
But hopefully we'll be on the opposite side of that by the time the new year starts. I don't know. But
Knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood.
Yeah.
But like you, I'm finding that a lot of my clients are figuring out how to do all of this online. So, audio is definitely becoming a lot more important. And it's been really interesting for the musicians that I've talked to, too, because I noticed that there's a lot more of a level playing field between the really well-known musicians and, the people who play in the coffee houses, right? Like, because they're all on the same level right now. They're all working from home. They're all trying to have streaming concerts.
Yeah.
And some of the people who are like really well-known didn't have anything in their home to be able to do that. So that's been an interesting discovery.
Tomorrow I'm invited to give a talk in Hamburg, and just now I received a message that it was planned as a hybrid event with some attendees in a huge hall, and everything is fine with Corona and aligned to the regulations here. But now I received the message that they do it only online now. So tomorrow I will be in a huge hall on a huge stage.
Empty.
Absolutely empty. Yeah. And it will be recorded. And yes, the audience will join us on screen. So these are I think the new kinds of experience at the moment.
Yeah.
But we get used to it.
Yeah, I'm curious how that feels, though, because I mean, you're on a stage doing a speaking engagement to no one. You're not getting any reaction.
Yes, I don't know. Normally,
it's basically like the other times when you are on the stage.
Yeah,
nice.
No, I think I need audience and I need the live situation very much. So because, for example, when I never prepare my presentations or my talks because preparing a speech, I don't get these vibes, these feelings. This doesn't work for me. So I always have this very, spontaneous reaction on stage. And if I have no connection to the audience, I don't know how this is going to be. But in a situation like here with this conversation with you, for example, we are totally used to this now. So for example, we have one big international client now. I can't name the brand at the moment, so we are working with this client since 1 year now, and we never met
in person.
Yeah.
Just through Zoom or through email, or
yeah,
through Zoom and email.
Yeah.
Yes, we did really quite complex and long workshops, working out the sound and having discussion with bunch of people from different agencies and their client.
Wow.
And it really felt like a real workshop.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what sound translates to over Zoom. I mean, like clearly we can understand each other and have a discussion, but the nuances of sound, do they come through Zoom? Like, are you able to do that?
Of course not.
No, I mean, it's not ideal, but yeah.
That's mostly a question of bandwidth, which is not there with Zoom, actually. Sure. I mean, it's amazing how good the speech intelligibility now is and the quality of the voices now, but for music, it's still not enough.
Yeah.
At least you can share the sound from your sound card now, because I remember just some years ago before,
it was from the microphone.
You could only share the microphone, but not your sound card.
Yes, and Zoom allows for that now. Yeah. They've been really upping their game. They've been getting better at this as they go.
Yeah, it's getting much better. And but mostly we just send the files in advance, so it's
So they're hearing it on their own systems.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes
And
sense.
we say, may we draw your attention to file number B, please?
Yes. Okay, that makes way more sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you guys, how did you get into this? I mean, I know WESOUND is your baby, and you do a lot of different things there. But how did you both get into WESOUND? Like, what was the progression there? I mean, I know, Cornelius, you started, in university, college, studying this kind of stuff, and sort of got into the ad end of that. But like Lars, you went to school for engineering, audio engineering?
I started with audio engineering, right?
Yeah.
And afterwards I studied design too. And and from there, I got quite deep into this audio branding and sound design stuff. And I'm totally excited about this topic. And
I think he's always hiding his music producer.
Kind of. Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing. My first techno albums I released in like 1998 or something.
Yeah.
But actually he really sold quite a lot.
Really?
Let's not get into this. No.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Yeah.
It's
So you're famous and we don't know?
No, I'm not famous. No. And the music is, no, but from there, the sound design thing really got me, and and this is when we met, like 5-6 years ago already, I would say.
I think the first photo of Lars I discovered was at an audio branding congress in Oxford in 2011. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't know him at that time. Well, I'm also initiator and co-founder of the Audio Branding Academy, and we were running these congresses at that time. And so,
I have a question. I have a question for you about that, because I'm confused, because the Audio Branding Society and the Audio Branding Academy, are they the same thing, or?
Well, let's say it this way. We have the Audio Branding Academy, and this is an organization who is providing a platform for the Audio Branding Society. So we also founded that as a business club. So it's run by the Audio Branding Academy. And then we also have the International Sound Awards.
Yes. And I was definitely going to ask you.
Organized by the Audio Branding Academy. Yeah.
Okay.
And now more and more the International Sound Awards get more important now. And I think now we have this rebranding process. So we stage more the awards. And yes, the Academy is actually only the operator.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So
it started different.
Yes. How did it start?
It started in 2009. I had the idea of, this was this first, first situation that there was something out there which was called audio branding. And you could Google it, and there was no results on Google about audio branding. And slowly there was some little community talking about these topics, like John Groves, or here in Hamburg. In Hamburg, we also had the Wilbert Hirsch, and we had in Berlin Karl Frank Westermann and some other guys. And so they came up with this topic, and this is how I got introduced into this. So I learned, there's something more than just music and advertising and music in advertising. It's called audio branding. It has to do with brands. It's a process, the branding process. How can you develop something on the long term, not just in one commercial to have a wonderful music for a wonderful commercial? And so I wrote my diploma thesis about this topic at university. And after that, I think it was one of the first here in Germany, at least, I realized, this can't be, that's not all to say. And I realized many other students also were interested in this topic. And I thought, we should combine this knowledge and not repeat all the time the same research, but take this as a basis for the next research based on the results in the past. So I thought we should connect the researchers and the practitioners and bring them together. And actually, this was basically the idea of the Audio Branding Academy. So to make this a professional industry based on research, based on knowledge, but also based on exchange. And
I see. Yeah.
So I thought, okay, what we need is a congress. We need congress where we bring practitioners and scientists together to have this exchange. And then that's the reason why we call it an academy. Yeah? Because it was still this source of education about how do we become a professional industry. And after 10 years, we said, okay, actually, I think we are professional now. There's a professional industry already. There are plenty of books, of publications, of articles, of research, so much research now. Actually, if you're really looking for studies, there's plenty of it. And so the next step was, next thing we need is an award. So agencies and colleagues were approaching us and say, there's nothing like an award for us. We need an award. And so that's why now the next phase is the award.
Yeah. So that's the ISAs, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
We call it ESA in German. We say
ESA, okay.
ESA. And the trophy is a little bell.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And that's why we call it the ESA bell.
Ah, okay.
Okay. Only Germans can understand that. It's
ISA bell.
Okay.
ISA bell.
Are you looking for ways to improve your company's or podcast's impact? You'd be surprised how powerful the use of an intentional audio branding strategy can be. Want to know more? I have a free downloadable PDF that gives you my 5 tips for implementing an intentional audio strategy at voiceoversandvocals.com/audio-branding-strategy. That location does ask to put you on a mailing list, just to send you updates on when the new podcasts come out. But if you really don't want to give your email out, I understand. Just contact me directly. My email is all over my website, and I'll make sure you get that PDF without needing to sign up anywhere. If you do sign up, though, you also get access to a resources section called The Studio, where I have videos, white papers, and PDFs, discounts from my guests, and snippets of audio from my guests that no one else gets to hear. So maybe it's worth your while. Totally up to you. And of course, if you're looking for voiceovers, you can get in touch with me about that too. Now, back to the podcast. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that it would happen in Europe, actually, because I always got the sense that Europe was a little bit ahead of the game as far as audio branding was concerned than North America, for instance. I think in North America, we were doing it without really realizing what we were doing.
Oh.
I think, well, like the NBC like if you hear that, that is kind of like a sonic logo almost, but it was like the beginning of the program. It was something that they did without thinking. That was just how it was done. And
well, actually, they needed something like this. This is how station design began, because at that time they were reconnecting the slots in the program and to cover the noise of the reconnecting. They needed something to play to mask the noise of the connection. So they played some kind of music, and this is how this was the beginning of the radio station design. Actually, this really started with the invention of radio. So since we have radio stations, the first things that were Americans, the first thing they did was American brands or companies were buying the radio stations to place their advertisements. And that's how the soap opera just came up.
Okay. I'm definitely getting an education here. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I like it.
This was in the 1920s, 30s.
Yeah.
So what we do here is actually, I would say, 100 years old now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It started in the 20s.
Yeah. It's nice to know that it's actually gotten some kind of structural significance, I guess, if that's how you put it.
Absolutely,
because I don't think a lot of people were intentional with it, and it kind of it became a part of our psyche as far as listening to ads, and I mean, I guess it's become a study now, but the psychology of advertising, if you don't take into account the sound aspect of that, you're missing out on half of the study, right?
Yeah.
So,
what you said, it's about consciousness. So it was always there. You could go even back in the back in the history of humanity, and there was always sound, there was always communication, and there was always some kind of branding, maybe with not in the context of advertising, but something that says, this is my signature, that's me, I'm talking now. You had it in Egypt, you had it with the Romans, everywhere you had signals and meaning of sounds. So, and when the Vikings were blowing the horn and so, and so to make something bigger, to sound dangerous, for example,
sure,
to be afraid. Think of Jericho, the trombones of Jericho.
Oh,
in the
Jericho.
Jericho.
Okay,
yes,
yeah.
Jericho.
Okay, yeah. Differences between J's. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There is a lot to this. Definitely psychologically, we are geared towards paying a lot of attention to sound from very early on, as you say. So how do both of you define audio branding? You've sort of touched on it already, but I'm wondering if your definitions are the same or if they're different, or because you're coming at it from slightly different angles, right?
Quite, but I wouldn't say that our definitions differ so much. So I think we can agree it's a process, and we agree it takes a good designer or a team of. It needs proper consultancy and strategy, and of course, the client who's willing to participate in all this.
Sure.
And with these three, you can make a pretty good progress.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's important to understand that there's a process and there are some methodologies how you organize. It's mainly about the organization of this process. When, what, how, checklist. Did we think of everything? Because there are many things you can do, you can make mistakes. Then in the middle part, there's this magic moment of the genius where the artist, because I think the artist and the creativity, it's something you cannot calculate. It's something that just happens based on experience and of all the knowledge. But at the end, it's also the genius, Mozart or Beethoven or
me.
or you.
Yes.
So yes,
own
indeed,
it, Lars.
It's really important that we really know that this is also a very important momentum of the process. So sometimes I realize that people want to develop some fancy methodology concepts, and they say, okay, we get a model and we get a concept, and then they try to do everything in this mechanical terms. And they want to sell you something like a black box, and then you just have to put in some informations, and at the end you get a wonderful output. And it's not that easy. If you want to have it like this, you could do audio branding by the Boston Consulting Group or McKinsey or something. But no, you need artists and designers.
And there is this certain danger. We encountered it. It's like when you found a method that really worked, and this one time you really found the greatest design ever with this method, and you try it again, and you realize, okay, no, this worked with our last project, but it doesn't mean that it necessarily works with the new project. So you have to be very aware of that the method you choose, it's an instrument, and every instrument yields a certain result. So with a brush and with a brush you can paint, but not necessarily build something. So and this is really interesting to find and intriguing to find the right the right mixture of methods and approaches to the right problem. And
True.
Yeah,
it's more about principles.
Yep.
And handcraft.
Yeah.
And of course, experience. It's very simple, but it's true. You need the experience. You have to make your own experiences and also get some kind of feeling. Yeah? So
Yes.
I know this is not very popular if I'm saying this, and people expect somebody who founded the Audio Branding Academy with all this scientific background to tell you something like, yes, we have the studies and we have the these kind of diagrams, we have some figures and numbers, and so
we can just calculate it.
But
And
that's
yeah,
no great piece of music was calculated this way. Maybe Stockhausen or John Cage.
But it was his idea, so it worked.
It worked. It was his idea. And you can't repeat it. You need a new idea for the next project.
Right.
And this is something you have to understand your client and the needs, and then to really go into that, and you cannot copy the methodology you used for another client before.
Yeah. It sounds to me like scientifically, though, psychology is kind of that in-between science and art. I don't know if that maybe makes any sense, but there is a certain amount of how does the human brain work? And we are strange creatures. And so figuring out how that works from one person to the next person, trying to figure out the larger psyche of the environment that you're trying to create this in is almost more of an art than it is a science.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you think about the great brands, should I say it? Or should I not say it?
Yeah.
Apple, for example.
Yes. Go for it.
These are all computer scientists, Why didn't they use a computer to calculate the perfect logo for Apple? It was an idea-driven thing.
Yes.
It's not calculated. It's a story behind. And there were designers. And what is making Apple great? What is so fantastic of Apple? It's the principle, the design principle, and the idea and the attitude behind that drives this brand.
Yeah,
maybe
definitely.
We could talk now about Windows and Microsoft and so, but okay, let's stick at this. So
yes.
yes.
I'm a little biased, so
Well, we use both systems.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yes, of course.
That's interesting, actually, because a lot of my audio colleagues have told me that they use Macs exclusively, and I'm on a PC. So,
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
You are? Okay.
I am, yeah.
Which system? I mean, you cannot name it on the podcast, but it's interesting.
Well, right now I'm on a Windows 7 machine, actually.
Okay.
So,
Nice. Okay.
yeah, but I've known PCs since DOS. So,
Yeah, sure.
like, I'm just used to them. I know how they work.
Okay.
I know how to get under the hood.
So you look younger, like that you know the what how when you know Windows like DOS, then that's quite a long time ago, right?
Oh, yes.
This means like you started as a very young girl.
Yeah, right.
I got my first computer in 1986. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was DOS time, right?
Yes,
yeah,
that was
okay.
DOS time. That was XT time with its
Yeah.
CGA monitor. Oh, yeah. I remember those days, yes. And Zoom is very kind with the smoothing out thing.
So true.
Yeah. But back to audio branding.
Yeah. Sorry for that.
No, it's fine.
Yes, but there's something
fun.
we still have to add, because we were talking about the process.
Sure.
But what is the result of this process?
Yes.
So we're talking about a branding process. Branding for me is always creating something, developing something, and at the end you have a brand. And in our business, at the end you have the brand sound. So for me, audio branding is the process of development and developing and also maintaining a brand sound.
And that is like super important to also keep an eye on the implementation, because this is often forgotten. So we have our wonderful process, everything runs smoothly, and in the end we have the best sound logo of the world, but unfortunately it's not on the streets, nobody hears it. Why?
Yeah.
Because it's not properly implemented in processes within the company.
Sure.
And that's another important side to work on.
Yes, absolutely. So it starts with the implementation, and then it becomes audio management.
Okay.
And I think at the moment, everybody is asking about how do you create it and why and what is the story, and always asking about the creative questions. As I said, it's important. We think we need the methodology and the process to have this creative process and to be just to have these artists working as a designer.
Mm-hmm.
But the success of a brand sound at the end, on the long term, is implementation and then the management of the brand, management of the brand sound, the daily work, the daily updates, the little adjustments, and to keep the brand young. And as I like to say, brands get younger every day a little bit, get every day a little bit younger. And the people who are responsible for this brand get older every day a little bit. So there's a natural gap. Yeah?
Yes.
So we really have to work on this every day on the brand. And audio management is really, really important.
Yeah, it's important, this whole regulation thing, as audio branding seems, can be kind of over-regulating things. Like, okay, you have to do this, you have to follow this rule, music has to be like this, and of course there must be the sound logo, and it can lead to doing nothing at all. So there are so many rules, I'm like, I'm stuck. And
it's the same with the logo, though, in the visual aspect, too, right? Like, there are companies that know exactly what font they use, what colors they use. Your logo has to be on everything you put out, all of that stuff. It just kind of floored me in a lot of aspects that the brands that were so stuck on that for their visuals weren't also paying the same amount of attention to their audio. Like, that just didn't make sense to me, because it should be a full sensory experience, right? A company without the audio portion of this is missing out on reaching half their audience, probably. It's just not. And I think if the audio aspect doesn't match the visual aspect, or at least the emotions that visual aspect evokes, then it seems, again, inauthentic. So there's a lot that goes into it.
This is exactly the point that is driving the whole WESOUND team. I was talking with the people here with the team and interviewing them. So what is driving you? Why are you here? Because we don't pay you. And why are you working for us? So,
normally we pay people.
These are unusual times.
No, serious. In this industry, that's not an industry for big money. If you want to make big money, you should do another job, I think. So if you want to do something that you really love, that you really think it's a great job, for me, it's the greatest job at all. So everybody who's working here, and you might have the same experience with all other people we were talking about, audio branding, our industries, it's for all of them. They are doing this by passion. Because they love this topic. And here at WESOUND, we really believe in this potential. It's an incredible potential which is not used at the moment. For example, there's one study by Ipsos from this year. They released it just a few months ago, showing that in the US, only 6% of audiovisual commercials are using audio branding assets. 6%.
Wow.
Which means and if they use audio branding assets, they have a 8.5 times higher chance to have brand recognition, brand awareness.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a huge potential, but I wonder, okay, how can you be? I would love to see what the controllers of brands are thinking. if they have these figures, they can't ignore it. So this for me means that 94% of the communications is not using this potential.
Yeah, which is kind of sad, actually.
It's sad, and actually it's an easier thing.
Yes.
It's not that complicated to have something.
This has been part 1 of our interview. I hope you'll tune in next week for part 2. Well, that's the end of this episode. Thanks for listening. And if you like what you heard, why not tell a friend about this podcast? It's available on all the usual outlets. Until next time.